All right, Amy Wu of Lightspeed Ventures, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So we're here at Mainnet. It's a crypto conference. You guys are a VC firm. You're invested in a lot of things, not just crypto. But it seems to me, after our panel just now, that you have really caught the gaming bug specifically, crypto and gaming. I mean, talk to us a little bit about that, especially because for a lot of people, crypto is still confusing enough as it is, and then you bring in NFTs within a gaming universe, and your NFT is your ticket into the game, and for a lot of people, it's just like, oh, it's too complicated.
Yeah, I mean, I've been at Lightspeed for about almost 3 years now, and so I cover crypto, of course, but I also cover gaming for Lightspeed, as well as some consumer tech companies, and it's a lot to cover. It's a lot of surface area, and we constantly feel behind all the time, as investors, because there's just so many projects, so much innovation going on in the space. And yes, like there's been a community of gaming for the last couple of decades, and those two worlds, crypto and gaming, have really sort of converged in the last, I want to say, like year, and definitely in the last couple of months, with the explosive success of Axie Infinity. You have gaming publishers that all are looking to this as a lucrative way to generate a lot of revenue. I have a lot of thoughts around like. At the beginning of this year, I had publishers asking me, well, what can I do with blockchain that I can't do now, right? There's gold farming, I can do my exchange, I'm Valve, I have an exchange, and so what can I actually do that's different? And it turns out that there's actually a few really tangible things.
And you mentioned something about like in the next couple of years, there's going to be hundreds of blockchain-based games. But what does that look like for consumers? Is it all on the front end? Is that stuff that they can't really see? What's that relate? How does that relate to game experience?
Well, first, I mean, if you think about Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, actually there's thousands of games that get launched on these platforms every year. And so it's a really competitive landscape. And there's only a handful of games that really kind of burst out and become mainstream. I think get tens of millions of players really playing that in any sort of given year. The games compete to do that. I think that blockchain is a way to cut through the noise, actually. So one of the use cases for NFTs is really being able to engage the community prior to launch. Sometimes it might take years before launch, and so you're competing against, like, again, hundreds of other games. Like how do you do that? The second thing is that it is still novel, right? There's a lot of people that are very interested in the speculative nature. Maybe they own an NFT. It can actually, the value can go up a lot, or they spend a lot of time playing a specific game and they get a lot of just intrinsic value from owning that item in a very different way than like a player actually owns that NFT, right? You can trade it, you can actually do something with it in a more meaningful way than what they can do today. And lastly, I would say that if you have in-game items that are traded as NFT items, either in the closed ecosystem of that gaming publisher or outside of it, you can really deepen the game economy substantially, right? You have a lot higher volumes of liquidity, and so it's actually a way for a player to be able to actually spend however much money they want in the game that previously was constricted. You actually can't spend like $500K, $1 million in most games. And it's also another way for publishers to deepen the revenue.
And the crypto and the gaming worlds overlap quite a bit. People that are interested in crypto are also big gamers. I actually am not a gamer, but is this maybe a way to bring some people into gaming who are already interested in crypto?
Absolutely. I think that I think a statistic with Axie Infinity is something like 50% of all their new players actually have never traded crypto before. So absolutely, blockchain gaming is actually like bringing in new players into crypto that were previously gamers. So I think there's maybe, call it like 10 million people that are trading actively in DeFi today, but there's 2 billion gamers in the world. And so it's actually like gamers who've never traded crypto that are more likely to go into crypto and increase that size of pie than necessarily the other way around.
When you talk about, Amy, using NFTs in a gaming world and the amount of money that can be generated from that, and especially because of what you do, which is trying to spread your bets and do venture capital and invest in interesting projects, are you right now concerned about, dare I bring it up, regulation? Because what the SEC is going to do about crypto and the various signs that we've seen in terms of regulating crypto companies have a lot of investors concerned.
Absolutely. It's regulation is my number one concern as an investor that invests a lot of money in crypto. And I would say really it's around just understanding what the bright lines are, right? And I think that there's going to be potentially regulations within DeFi around identity, and also, are some token securities? All of these questions remain to be answered in the next few years. And so when you're a large gaming publisher, you have players in maybe 150 jurisdictions around the world. I mean, and if you're going to both on and off ramp a currency, a cryptocurrency, and also allow trading within that, you need to think about compliance. And ultimately, a lot of, I think, game studios get really excited, and a lot of these projects actually get killed at the legal desk, right? When they finally are asking, okay, well, who are you partnered with? And, how are you going to be compliant? And I think there's probably a couple of partners in the world right now, one of which is FTX, who are able to bring that compliance to, partners like a gaming publisher. And so these are all questions that they really need to think about, especially a lot of them as publicly traded companies.
Do we have any other burning questions for Amy?
I mean, it might be worth talking about a little about FTX. You're a big investor in FTX. You've invested in them for quite some time. What do you see in FTX's future? Because they have quite a few different projects that Sam Bankman-Fried is working on. What specifically is going to come with
NFTs.
Including
Yeah,
NFTs?
just launch NFT marketplace.
Yeah. So what do we see moving forward for FTX, the exchange?
I mean, they're trying to be the number one exchange in the world. They think about their customer base in terms of, institutionals, prosumer traders, and also retail, and they're really trying to create a product and build products that really tailor to the use cases of all three. And also, they have FTX Wallet and payments. And so with that, they really want to be both the direct-to-consumer facing application layer, interactions with crypto transactions, but also the infrastructure layer, powering a lot of fintechs, game publishers, or otherwise potentially social networks that want to bring crypto transactions to their user base.
In the US, can they cut into that lead with household recognition that Coinbase has?
I mean, Coinbase is a household recognizable name, so I mean they're doing phenomenally well. I think FTX still has a long ways to go around that, but I mean that's why they're doing all of their sports sponsorships,
Yes.
right? Naming the
Sure
Miami
are.
Heat Stadium, et cetera. And I think all of that is in service of being more of a well-known brand in the U.S.
All right, Amy Wu, thanks so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Good stuff.